really hard. Get everybody in order.
Okay, it's 5 o'clock. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start our council meeting. Welcome to everyone who's here. We appreciate you all joining us. And we're going to go ahead and get started with an opening remarks by Council Member Keegan Garrity.
So with all the fires that have been happening around the state, I think all of us are grateful for our first responders, and sometimes we recognize them in a very general way, but if you'll indulge me, I thought I would share 4 brief stories that illustrate some of the work that they do that we may not be aware of. So first one I wanted to share was probably the one that's the most local and the most obvious, was the fire on Canyon Road. For those of you that may not know, firefighters and apparatus from Logan, Cache County, Smithfield, Paradise, and several other agencies worked together under a unified operational structure during that fire, and they protected infrastructure and property, which highlights the importance of that coordination and building those relationships long before an incident occurs. If any of you have tried to coordinate with friends and family just to decide on a place to go for lunch, you can know how difficult it can be to gather consensus among a group. So to work that quickly in an emergency situation requires a lot of preparation. The second one I want to talk about is the statewide fire deployment. So I actually didn't know this before, but did you guys know that sometimes those in the county actually go to other counties to help out when they need it? So specifically, the Cache Fire District deployed engine boss Tyrell Fredrickson and firefighters Dawson Davis and Braden Wynn as part of an initial task force supporting wildfire operations across northern Utah. During their deployment, the crew responded to several significant incidents, including the Canyon Fire in Logan, the Johnson Fire in Box Elder County, the Bates Fire near Stansbury, and the Rock Canyon Fire in Morgan County. And the deployment required the firefighters to spend approximately 2 weeks away from home and their families and their normal responsibilities, and others I'm sure had to pick up the slack. If any of you have ever had to travel for work or something, you know that life doesn't wait for you and things happen with your family while you're gone, so appreciate the sacrifice they made. The third one is the Cache County Fire District paramedic and ambulance personnel from B-Shift, along with volunteers from the Hiram City Fire Department, responded to a medical emergency in Millville involving a 70-year-old man who had become unresponsive. The first arriving personnel found the patient not breathing and without a pulse. Advanced cardiac life support measures were immediately initiated. Crews provided high-quality CPR, advanced airway management, life-saving cardiac medications, and defibrillation. And after about 18 minutes of CPR and 4 cardiac defibs, the patient's pulse returned. He was stabilized and transported to Logan Regional and was later flown to McAdee, where he underwent a triple bypass surgery. And several weeks later, he returned home. So they literally saved someone's life. And then the last story I'll share highlights an individual named Valerie Hubbard, who represents the type of commitment that's essential for providing reliable emergency services in smaller communities. She served with Squad 140 in Nibley since 2016, responding to EMS calls and providing patient care to communities of Nibley and Millville. In 2022, she expanded her service by joining the Cache County Fire District as an AEMT firefighter and has continued to build her capabilities through additional fire and hazardous materials training. Today, she serves as both a part-time and paid-on-call firefighter for the district and helps coordinate operations of Squad 140. She routinely makes herself available for more than 200 hours of on-call coverage each month, helping ensure that an EMS responder is available to Nibley and Millville when an emergency occurs. Even with that commitment, she regularly finds additional time to work 12 and 24-hour shifts at Station 150. And her service is backed by significant training and experience. She's certified as a firefighter 1 and 2. She's completed the hazmat awareness and operations training. And she's also an experienced EMS educator, having served for 6 years as both EMS instructor and EMS training officer, in addition to serving as the American Heart Association CPR instructor. So I just want to recognize those folks, and I want to thank our chief, Brady George, for helping me collect those stories and just recognize all that they do for us and keeping us safe. So thank you.
Thanks, Keegan.
If you'll please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, Keegan. It was great to honor those people that work so hard, and we don't always see them because they're behind the scenes, so thank you for doing that. Does anyone want to make a motion about the agenda for tonight?
I move to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
That is the amended agenda, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the review and approve the minutes. I did have, there's a couple things on the minutes.
I should say, we had a discussion about the tentative budget. We're not going to be presenting that tonight, so that is a change to the agenda.
Okay, are you not going to present any numbers or like nothing? I knew it was going to be modified, but,
We're going to present all of it in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So that was our decision. The word tentative actually has a legal meaning of something specific you're supposed to put in a tentative budget. It's a word used in the statute. We were going to give you preliminary numbers. And so I think the confusion over the word tentative means we probably just should not get involved in that because it will not be at the tentative budget.
tonight, okay.
If you want to strike that.
Yep, let me,
Move to strike 6B on the agenda.
Second.
moved and seconded that we strike 6B from our amended agenda. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thanks, George. Okay, the minutes. When I looked through the minutes, Kurt Webb's name is misspelled and so is Sean Milnes. And so that was not a huge deal, but to them it probably is. It'll be a record that goes down in history. So if we can change those two things. Anybody else have any other things that they noticed in the minutes? Does someone want to make a motion about the minutes?
Move to accept the minutes from 7:28 county council, the county council meeting from 7:28
Second.
With those amendments?
with the amendments.
Okay.
Second.
So moved and seconded that we approve the meeting minutes from 7:28 with the mentioned amendments. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Okay, report of the county executive.
There's 2 or 3 things I wanted to talk about, including appointments. We have been obtaining applications for the fire board. I think the last count I had, we had like 13, and we're continuing to receive those. The time period is open through, I believe it's August 23rd or 24th. And that's a weekend, so we'll look at what we receive over the weekend as well. So those appointments are getting those responses. Between tonight's meeting and the meeting previously, Logan City went ahead and approved our interlocal agreement regarding the airport. We'd like to get a fast start on that. We'd like to arrange a sponsor board meeting. If you recall, that isn't a public appointment. The sponsor board is certain positions are to be filled. Mayor Anderson is going to select himself and one council person, and he is going to give me that name tomorrow. So I'll have the 2 from Logan City. We have 3 council people, county council people who serve on that sponsor board. Keegan is currently serving on the Airport Authority Board. If you could determine what 3 you wish to serve on the sponsor board, that would complete that. The county executive is supposed to choose 2 county elected officials, and I have asked Matt Funk and Bryson to serve as those 2. elected officials. So that would complete our 7. As soon as we get the 7 completed, we can have a brief meeting there and begin the process of soliciting for application to the Airport Authority Board. So I believe it's your decision, Sandy, and your council as to which 3 persons you want to serve. But if you could determine that tonight, we could proceed with that sponsor board immediately.
Okay. Is there any, I know Keegan's been involved along through the whole thing, so I'm assuming you would want to stay
Yeah.
on that sponsor
Yeah.
board.
I'll publicly express my desire to
Yes.
stay there, yeah.
Are there any other 2 council members who would like to take on that role?
Yeah, the rule is one, at least no more than 1 is to be from Logan. So
Okay, so it can't be Joanne or I, that's Keegan,
that's right.
and we need 2 others from the county. Okay, that leaves the 3 of you. Is there any 4 of you?
Mark?
I am very interested in doing it, but I want to maybe publicly state it just to make sure that everyone's aware of part of what would come with that. Where the Hyde Park Irrigation Company does actually run through the airport property, and the airport does hold, could be a shareholder with that organization. That would just be something that we would come up as something I'd have
conflict of
to
interest,
declare as a
maybe.
conflict of interest and abstain from any action that would involve that infrastructure. Aside from that, I feel like it would be an honor to serve on that board.
Would you state why too, and what your involvement is with the canal company, just so
Oh,
people
just
know?
because I currently serve as the water master for that organization.
Yeah, I don't see that as a problem with the sponsor board position, but I think you should declare it so there's
Sure.
clarity there.
Nolan, do you or Catherine from the south have
Are you
any?
gonna play chicken?
Yeah.
I already have fire.
That's a joy, right?
No.
I already have P and Z. so.
I know,
How many
everybody's busy.
meetings are we
Yeah,
talking
what
about?
is the
Just-
responsibility?
And when?
Not a lot, maybe starting up, there's some additional work, but we're hoping to hold it to 4 or 5 a year. And if you recall, the real active party in running the airport will be the authority board,
This is
not the
just-
sponsor
The
board.
sponsor board.
Okay, I'll try it out. And that was not me expressing public interest in it, so.
You accepting the responsibility?
My arm is behind my back. I think Dave had a crooked neck while he was looking over here, so.
So we'll have Mark and Nolan and Keegan.
And if you guys want to get together, I can fill you in on, where we've been and where we're at
So
now.
what I'll be doing is trying to schedule a sponsor meeting maybe later this week or early next week so we can get started on filling out the airport authority board, because that is one of the primary duties of the sponsor board, is to select the authority board.
Okay, maybe I'll ask you and Dane, do we need to make some kind of a motion, like what is the actual legal process to appoint this sponsor board members tonight? If they're gonna meet later this week, we need to make sure they're appointed tonight. What is the appointing process?
So the council's the appointing authority, so there just need to be a vote on the appointments.
Okay,
I would move that we accept those Keegan,
Mark and Nolan.
Mark, and Nolan on the sponsor board for the airport authority.
I think there was $1,000 retainer to have us on there.
I don't think I read that.
I read the agreement a couple times. I don't remember that part.
Excluding the
buried.
$1,000.
That was not in what OMP reviewed.
It wasn't buried.
Can I get a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we accept Keegan, Mark, and Nolan to be on the airport sponsor board. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, perfect.
One other matter, I don't know if all of you had a chance to go to the fair, but it was a great party for Cache County, and we compliment everyone involved in it. The rodeo was fun, the fair was fun, the 4-H and the extension and everything was really well done. In the course of getting ready for the fair, we made an agreement with Logan that we would improve the parking. I don't know how many of you saw the north side, but it was done very quickly and very well by our county road crew. And I've asked Jeremy to bring the guys that were involved with that. Come on up front, Jeremy, with these guys were down there working at night to get it done, and I went down and looked at it to see how much damage was done. It still looks really good, Jeremy. There's everything there. So these are the 5 guys that went out there and accomplished it.
Five guys.
Just line
Yeah,
right
come
up
line right
here
up here
and look at the
face
camera.
the camera.
Camera.
And thank
It's
you.
a lineup right here.
Okay, and I appreciate that too, so,
Jeremy, you can do a bow or a curtsy if
Yeah.
you prefer.
thank you, all of you, thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Introduce yourselves.
I'm Brady from Wellsville, that live in Logan at the time.
Rob's a 4-year veteran.
awesome.
Started when he
Thanks,
was-
guys.
Thank you.
We're gonna give you a lot
Did
more
great.
I
assignments
just want
for
to say
this.
something to you. Thanks for your support. We couldn't do anything without you guys. Without the equipment and what you allow us to do, we couldn't pull this stuff off. So thank you so much.
It's a combined effort,
It worked great.
yeah. So Matt told me we, as county council members, we could pull in and say, we're from the county council, and we would be given a parking place. And I pulled in and the lady said, oh, are you here for the senior parking? I'm like, yeah. But I am on the county council. So I was happy to have a place to park.
That was better parking than the council.
I know, it was.
The last thing is to just report continuing progress with respect to the fire board. We're meeting, and we've got another meeting this Friday with the south, and I have a meeting on Thursday night with the north. So we're continuing to make progress.
Okay, thank
Madam
you.
Chair, if I could just speak up, I just looking at the agenda, and Andrew pointed this out, for the appointments, Open and Public Meeting Act is gonna require us to notice up that there were appointments going to be made.
I wondered.
And so I've just asked that we put that on the agenda for the next meeting for the appointments to the airport board. I don't want, I know there's been some contention with the airport. I don't want someone coming and pointing out
Yeah.
a flaw in our appointment procedure at this meeting.
Okay, we will
and
add
making
that.
us come back and restart that process.
Yeah, we'll add it to our agenda on the 25th. And, thank you. Okay. 6A, we need to ask for Sean Milne.
Good evening, council, and thank you for the opportunity to return and talk about my favorite subject, economic development. You'll recall that last time I was here, I gave you the annual report for fiscal year 26 on last year's activities, and then made recommendations, well, passed along recommendations from the CEO board. And just to reacquaint you, the CEO board is the Cache County Economic Opportunity Advisory Board, and as the namesake implies, they are advisory only to you. Oh, that's right. I am not hooked up to the internet anymore. I'm sorry. One moment, please. And the Cache County Economic Advisory Board is advisory to you. And you get to make the final determination. Isn't technology grand until it doesn't work? Excellent. There we go. All right, and you'd asked me to return, particularly with two elements in play. One is the CEO board appointments. We have some vacancies because this year, GOED, Governor's Office of Economic Development, oh, by the way, Sean Milne, Bear River Association of Governments, Director of Economic Development for the minutes. This year, administrative rules through GOED, Governor's Office of Economic Development, has sought to clarify that they no longer want any elected officials from a deciding body to be on the board,
And so we have a number of those board vacancies that I'm going to ask you to consider, as well as the recommendations from the last meeting, which are these that are shown on the screen, the same as last time. The contract that the county has for BRAG, for those economic development services, which I'll go into a little bit more detail here in a moment, referring to a contract that's in your media packet, proposed contract, and special projects related to Bridgerland Technical College has a business and innovation center. It's called the Hub, and they've been wildly successful. Several years ago, they were recipients of this grant money and saw Mark Alexander increase the capacity of entrepreneurs or young businesses in age of the business, not necessarily young people that were founders or owners, and has done a really great job of showing upward job count from those incubated businesses he provides mentorship through. Well, in line with that, they've had a commercial kitchen, which is separate from their culinary arts kitchen that they use at the school for the certification programs themselves. And he's now at 60 clients, that's 60 clients that are using that commercial kitchen. And he's requested of the CEO board and your consideration a contribution towards what he expects to be an $80,000 expense in order to upsize that to accommodate the increase in clientele that he has. And then the last one is airport growth, round 3. This last fiscal year was round 2, and a nearly equitable amount of money was set aside with the idea of furthering Dr. Jones's airport feasibility study conducted a couple of years ago. So round 3's money would join round 2, which has been unspent from fiscal year 26, in order to advance whatever the newly discussed airport sponsor board and authority boards would consider. So with that in mind, I have a couple of slides here I can go back to if you'd like, but the CEO board has to have a minimum of 5 members. You can have more, and this county traditionally has had. Majority of the board constitutes a quorum, which is good that right now I have a majority of the board that's still in place. And then you need to elect a chair and vice chair, or they need to elect a chair and vice chair among themselves. And another change to the administrative rules this year seeks to take those terms from 2 years to 4 years. The 5 minimum are a representative for the county, which is what the previous elected officials here on this body have served in that capacity. A municipal representative, someone from workforce development, private sector representative, and a public at large representative. This county, as well as others that I help manage, have historically included additional seats that represent industries that you would like to see more of in our county. So I've listed some of those that have been mentioned for this county here in the past: aerospace and defense, advanced manufacturing, life or biosciences, ag and value-added food processing, and arts and culture. This has been the CEO board as constituted this last year. I have a very light highlight for those that are now off the board, either through administrative rules or one member who, due to health concerns, has asked to be excused and has effectively resigned, which leaves us with the chart that you see in front of you there. That gives us the institutional knowledge of Brian Carver, who now becomes chair. He represents your public at large member. He also happens to work for JUB Engineering. Kirk Jensen, who is my equivalent for Logan City proper, and Mark Alexander, who is, as I noted with Ridgeland Technical College a moment ago, he represents the workforce development spot that you need. I have suggested the terms of those 3 individuals being amended to end at the end of next calendar year, which would give them about 1.5 years left on a 4-year term. And as state statute requests, they want the 4-year terms mixed up and juggled so that you're not always losing 100%. So that leaves us 4 spots with myself and Alma Burgess, your grant manager, rounding out some staff ex officio positions that don't get to vote on the board. Of the 5 minimum, that would mean out of those 4 spots, you need to pick someone to represent the county and someone to represent private sector. I've proposed 2 more private sector representatives because that's what you've had previously. And in discussions since your last county council meeting and my last being before you, several members have proposed some names. I have discussed at the direction of council members Keegan, and Mark, I've reached out to Mr. Wes Clark, Wendy Hassan, Jeff Cox, and Mike Presley. But there are a whole slew of names of individuals, and you just need to fill those spots for those particular headings that are noted there. You could expand further if you wanted. You could just choose the bare minimum. The choice is really yours, but you can see that for the 4 that are vacant, I have proposed that they would get the full 3.5-year spots to go out until the end of December 2029. I'm happy to discuss these individuals that I've spoken with at further detail if you'd like. Happy to take additional recommendations on your part, whatever you would like to proceed, before we then discuss the next element on the agenda item, which is the proposed contract.
Okay. I talked to Sean just before the meeting, and just to stay within our appointing process, I would like to put those appointments off until the next meeting so that we can have a resume of each one. We have a list before the meeting starts, and then that gives another week or so if you have any other names that you want to suggest to Sean. If you would get those to him within the next just few days, and then at our next meet, before our next meeting starts, in our media packet, we'll have those names to be able to look at and discuss at that meeting. So that we can, because the council is the appointing authority on this board.
Correct.
And, but I don't want to do that without having those names before the meeting. If that's okay with the rest of
Yeah,
you.
would it be helpful to explain some of the nominations and why, for the ones that we do have on the list now, or do you want to wait?
I don't know, I think we could wait until next time when we have a full list, and then we can talk about them and vote on them. And unless someone thinks of a better process or a different process that you want to do, but I just feel like I wanted to have names in advance of the meeting before we vote on them.
I can
Question?
Yes.
please support that, but also, we did have quite a few conversations about the process, and that was not brought up. Just to make sure we're okay. Timeline-wise, does that work?
For the time being, you see the graph in front of you, a minimum of 5, and I have 3 out of 5. I have a quorum if 100% of them show up. So, yes, I'm good. I will need a letter of attestation from the chair before the September 1 deadline for fiscal year 27's application, and I should be able to arrange that with Mr. Carver, because the proposals in front of you tonight, as they were before, are one and the same as they were in the last meeting. So it would be to an attestation that this is the recommendation, that the board is constituted, that they were consulted on the application that would be forthcoming by the September 1 deadline. So that is possible. I just need 100% of them, to be engaged until there's more members appointed.
Yeah, we're just going through so many different appointments at this point in time. I think the process, we just need to stick to the processes.
Yeah, like I said, I thought we were asking those questions, so.
I just never saw those names before
Correct.
in our media packet.
Yeah,
and so-
I think to Mark's point, like we did discuss, because I know in my report a month ago, I mentioned let's be thinking about names, and then last time we said let's come up with some names, and so I think let's put our foot on the gas, and if we're gonna come up with names, let's do it in the next 3 days.
Let's make sure they're in the media packet before the meeting
Yeah.
starts. That's,
And I'll take care of that with my staff and Andrew. Councilman Gunnell, you had a question?
So I saw on your list, you had like the ag value co-op food side. I would just like to see that we have somebody from the ag industry, whether it's farming or equipment or something related into that area, I think would be an important area.
Fantastic. I will say that in the list that had been developed since the last meeting, there were a couple of names that I could be specific with, but again, I think it's been noted tonight that there may be an additional window. I love the shortened time frame and welcome any of you to reach out and let me know. If you choose to speak with somebody beforehand and just let them know what the opportunity is or the frequency of meetings, what the time commitment would be, or would like me to join a call, happy to do so at your pleasure. And then that way I can make sure I have that list vetted to get to Andrew in time to be in your media packet, and we can proceed from there.
perfect.
With something that you said, Madam Chair, you did say resumes. Is there anything else you would like me to collect from these individuals in anticipation of the media packet?
Yeah, maybe their contact information.
You bet. Okay. Any other questions related to the CEO board? Okay, then with that, You have in your media packet this evening a draft proposal for something else that's new to the administrative rules this year, and that is a contract to formalize the agreement. The administrative rule change this year is that any in-house employees or contracted work being done on your behalf of this rural county grant, and just to back up, for the sake of the audio record, anybody present tonight, or to refamiliarize yourself, you qualify for this rural county grant, or RCG, because Cache County is designated a rural county. Counties of the 3rd through 6th class are designated by the state of Utah as rural, and as such, the state legislature a number of years ago sought to incent and provide flexibility for rural counties to perform economic development at the local level differently than what those legislators who had sponsored the legislation, which was Senator Scott Sandel and Representative Carl Albrecht, differently than, say, Ogden to Provo. And so what they conjured up, and is in effect for several years now, $200,000 from the state legislature as an appropriation administered by GOED, and comes to you for your purview. And that's where that CEO board comes into play. You must have one, it must be fully constituted, it must be genuinely used to provide advice to you on the best ROI or kind of activities for economic development. That being said, the state heretofore has not had a formalized contract requirement for any in-house employees. A number of counties do that, as you did for the first few years that you had this program, and others also, like you do currently, utilize someone like me through another AOG or governmental, quasi-governmental, as well as third-party private sector economic development consultants. This is what they've intended to memorialize in the form of a contract. And this is what is before you as a proposed contract. They admit, they being GOED, that this is a first draft, or not this being a first draft, this is their first go at it. And they fully expect that there will be some learning curve that they'll see from all of us that submit for fiscal year 27's application process, from those third-party private sector consultants to the in-house employees like Daggett uses some of this money to pay for their in-house employee, and because that employee that performs economic development for Daggett does other duties as, tasked, they have other parts of their general fund that pay for that employee. So I've listed here a number of activities that I've historically done on behalf, whether as an in-house employee as I was before going over to Bragg, or since that time, and I stand ready to answer any questions if you have them, or seek to have your approval and proceed.
Okay, does anyone have any questions about this contract? I have looked through it, and I know that our legal team has looked through it, and so has our executive. Anybody have any questions for Sean? Do we need to take a formal vote then to accept this contract? Okay. I would accept a motion to accept this contract on behalf of our Rural Opportunity Grant.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve this contract. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you very much. May I presume that I'm automatically on the calendar for 2 weeks from today?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay.
Madam Chair, given the time,
Yes?
should we move to setting the public hearing and holding the public hearings?
That's what I was gonna do. Okay. Would you make a motion for that on 9A?
Yes, I move to set the public hearing for August 25th, 2026 at or about 5:30 to receive public comment and hear candidate introductions regarding vacancies on the Cache County Fire Protection District Board of Trustees.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we set the public hearing for August 25th to receive public comment and hear candidate introductions for the County Fire Protection District Board of Trustees. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And then we will go ahead and hold public hearings for the ordinances that we have here. I'm going to turn some time over to Matt Phillips to begin that. And we have several public hearings to go through tonight. What?
Oh, geotechnical reports. Motion for geotechnical reports.
Okay. So that one's not Matt. Okay, who is going to present on that one for the geotechnical reports? Brian?
Good evening, Brian Abbott with Development Services. Tonight we have an ordinance amendment for sensitive areas, potentially developable and geologic hazards, section 17.18.050B5. So right now, sensitive areas, some of our non-developable areas are wetlands, steep slopes greater than 30%, natural waterways, and open water. Potentially developable are moderate slopes between 20 and 30%, ridge lines, floodplains, important habitat areas, geologic hazards, wildfire hazards, historic, prehistoric, and cultural resources. Of those potentially developable sensitive areas, the moderate slopes and geologic hazards include landslides, scarps, fault lines, and liquefaction potential. The developmental requirements for those potential geologic hazards, they have to provide a geotechnical report, and that must be prepared by a qualified professional and meet certain criteria. Right now, our code exempts agricultural buildings as defined by the state code and structures that are less than 200 square feet. We propose to amend that. That would increase the exemption from a structure less than 200 square feet to 2,400 square feet for a one-story, non-habitable accessory structure, and there would be no change to any of the agricultural exemptions that already exist. So the code would look something like this under Section 5 of geologic hazards. These requirements do not apply to the following: accessory structures that are not meant for human occupancy, a single story, and are 2,400 square feet or less. Agricultural buildings not for human occupancy as defined by state code as amended. This came before Planning Commission back in June, and the Planning Commission recommended approval 6-0.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak to this ordinance? This is your time to speak up. Okay, does someone want to make a motion?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we close the public hearing on ordinance 2026-33. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thanks, Brian. All right, now we can have Matt come up with our COG projects. Sorry.
Matt Phillips, Public Works Director. There is quite a few of these COG public hearings. I guess I would recommend that for the record and just for the ease of going through them, if it's okay if we opened and closed for each one of them.
Separately. Yeah. We don't have to make a motion to open public hearing, but we will make a motion to close it at the end of each one.
So I do believe the very first one on the list is 1200 East. For the sake of time, this project has been taken off of the COG applications this year. So I did want to introduce this project in case someone did come to provide public comment on it. This project is between Hyde Park and North Logan in a little section of county. But this project won't move forward to COG applications this year. So I don't think it's necessary to go into a lot of depth on this project at this time.
Okay. Is there anyone here from the public that came to speak about this specific project?
Close the public hearing.
Been moved and seconded that we close public hearing on COG project 1200 East from 3100 North to 3400 North. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Next project on the list is Wolfpack Way project. So Andrew brings up the slides for that one. I thought this would probably I thought it would be a good opportunity to, at the start of all these public hearings, to just kind of, for the public and for the council and those here, is to go over what the purpose of these public hearings are. And so as part of the COG rules, every project that has multi-jurisdictional, whether you're doing a project in North Logan and it involves Hyde Park's right away or the county's right away, the COG rules state that those projects need to have a public hearing so that the citizens of each of those jurisdictions have an opportunity to voice their opinions, whether they're support the project or they're against the project, to their local people instead of at the council level. So, and then each one of these public hearings should address the general concept of the project, the estimate of the project, and the financial responsibilities of the jurisdictions of the project. So, so if you want to go to the next one. So the one that I'm going to present today and just give some background information is on the Wolfpack Way project. So this project is a continuation of projects that's been going on for a long time. That starts all the way in Providence, goes through Logan, goes through North Logan, 200 East, transitions to Wolfpack Way. Kind of the area that the specific projects that will be applying for COG this year are kind of in that county portion between Smithfield and Hyde Park. These applications will be broken into two phases, a phase B and a phase C. So on the screen I have phase B is the first phase in green, the second phase is phase C, and below that the phase A was funded last year through COG. So that's kind of gives you a little more indication of where those projects are. Next slide. This is not broken out into phases, but this, so now we're looking north is to the right of the screen. This is engineering plans for what has been proposed for those projects. So at the end of phase A, you'll have some road improvements with a roundabout, and phase B is going to end right about where that curve ends, and then from there into the Smithfield city limits we would have phase C. Both of phases include a roundabout. One's a 5-legged roundabout, the other one's a 4-legged roundabout. This is just a nice aerial looking from the Center Street in Hyde Park, looking north. You can see part of phase A and where there's still dirt. So this project would pick up at the end of that where you can see the active construction projects going. Next one. This is at the end of phase A looking north, so this phase would start out where you see the little bit of the dirt road, and then it would, this is where it would make the S-turn to connect to the road on the right side of the screen. Next one. This is looking at the intersection of 4400 looking north towards Skyview there in the background. That's where the other roundabout would be located, and that would be kind of the last section of this 200 East Wolfpack Way to get us to 600 South in Smithfield and basically kind of complete the project.
I was just going to add this particular one represents the culmination of what, 15 years of
At
working
least.
our way.
Yeah,
And
20.
our desire is to make this one the highest priority we can and try and get it done using our fixed guideway funding, which we're going to talk about later, but that
So as part of this project, there's two cross sections up there. One, the top cross section is what is proposed as part of the project because of there's no development on a lot of that portion. So the curb gutter that you see in the bottom section would come later as part of development. So in the top one, that's a 40-foot road section. The bottom one's 60-foot. So those developers would be responsible to add some of that asphalt, curb and gutter, and a sidewalk on the one side. But until that happened, we would provide, some nice travel lanes and a walking path on one side to make that work with everyone. Next one. Just a little bit more about the project. Again, we're applying to the COG for the construction funding. There is other options to apply for COG for right-of-way purchase. Engineering has been funded by the CMPO through a different grant. There's still $400,000 left in that CMPO money for some right-of-way acquisition, and if we're successful in the funding, that would start in 2028. As far as cost and responsibility, Hyde Park will submit the application. The county would be a sponsor of that. So as part of that, the council through George and I will submit a letter of support to Hyde Park so that they can apply for that project with our support. There'll be 2 applications, one Wolfpack Way Phase B, one Wolfpack Way Phase C. So the cost breakdown for these phases, Phase B is $5,850,000 estimate, and Phase C is $5,350,000 as an estimate with right-of-way costs and construction management included in there. The way it sits now, the Phase B, if you look at which part's in the county and which part's in the cities, you would have Cache County is about 82% of that cost would be in the county for, so about $4,800,000, and our match amount would be $385,000. If you look at that, once it's all annexed in the future, basically there's not going to be any in the county, and there wouldn't be any match amount from the county as that annexes in. So, next one, similar to Phase C, right now the county's 100% of that, so that match amount of $430,000 would be for the county. When those annexed in the future, there wouldn't be anything in the county, and we wouldn't have any required match for that. So just kind of giving you guys an idea as this progresses, kind of the min and max of what the county would be required to match. So, one more. That's all I have for this presentation. So if there's any questions from the council or any clarification that I need, we'll let the public.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak about this project, the Wolfpack Way from 400 North to 4700 North?
Move to close the public hearing.
Okay,
Second.
it's been moved and seconded that we close public hearing. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Let's go to the next one, Matt.
Madam Chair, for the next ones, we've asked the cities that are applying for those to come and present. So, which one's the next one on the list?
It's the 600 south from 6th East to 10th East.
River Heights City.
Good evening. I'm Craig Rasmussen with Forsgren Associates, the contract city engineer for River Heights City. And I don't have quite the same presentation as the Wolfpack Way project. This is a little bit more low key. Can we go to the? Do you have the project view? Can we address that one first? Just, that's all right. Thanks. So this project is, the county remembers maybe last year, similar project, same project we presented to COG last year, but we did not have the public hearing with Cache County. The very easterly segment of this project, which is 600 South in River Heights City, from the River Heights Elementary School, approximately 770 east, over to 10th East. That's that eastern segment of the road, looking at pavement widening, and now adding in intersection improvements at 10th East, which was left out because 10th East is in the county jurisdiction, and we didn't have a public hearing on that last year. And so that easterly segment, well, we couldn't do that because it was multi-jurisdictional. So we're here today to have the public hearing to get the county that on record with the county, and hopefully be able to be in a better position to move forward with the 600 South widening project, including the intersection at 10th East. And costs haven't changed too much from last year, other than just the work in the county at the intersection really is limited to correcting some curb and gutter that was installed as part of some development work that didn't account for widening the road, and drainage structure relocation, as well as just asphalt pavement. We're not asking for funding from the county, although we would accept it. And And the project budget is, with contingencies, approximately $750,000. River Heights City's match on that, including the match as well as ineligible COG work, is about $82,000 for that. So,
Okay, anybody have questions?
I don't know. I'll just explain really briefly the improvements. Again, widening out the road on the south side, the north side of the road. That was the one. Thank you. The north side of the road has been developed through development growth in River Heights City. The south side is in a different jurisdiction in Providence and was not improved with development. Providence couldn't require outside jurisdiction improvements. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, so we're trying to get that road widened out. It's a regional, I guess I would say it's a multi-jurisdictional collector road for traffic from Providence through River Heights coming on into Logan. CMPO has questions on whether that constitutes regional. I would say it's probably more aptly named multi-jurisdictional, but for people in that vicinity, it's an important section of road that certainly is in need of some improvements for safety. The project will add sidewalk on the south side of the road as well. A lot of pedestrian traffic and increasing amount of bike traffic there as well. The westerly end of this segment, which is just off of the left side of the sheet, is the River Heights Elementary School. So, is there any questions about that?
Anybody have any questions? Okay. Thank you.
Hearing?
Okay, this is a public hearing. If there's anyone here from the public that would like to speak about this project in River Heights, this would be your time to address us. Yes, please, come forward. Yeah, you'll have to come to the microphone, tell us your name, please, and
In my former life, I was a school bus driver, and I drove from River Heights Elementary. Often I would go east because
can you tell us your name, please, sir?
Oh, I'm sorry, Brent Speth.
Okay, thank you.
And often I would go east because of the conflict of traffic going west in that intersection just west of the elementary. There are so many children that walk on both sides of that street. And when school kids are out, it is very concerning to go east with kids because you can tell them to walk on the sidewalk, but they like it. You have to cross the street to do that, and they would sooner stay on the south side. It is very necessary that this project be done with a sidewalk for the children of the River Heights Elementary School.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to this project?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we close public hearing. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and I just want to clarify, we are not voting on these projects tonight. This is just part of the process. We have to attest that a public hearing was held. We won't be discussing them or voting on them tonight. From here, they go back to there's a process where they go through COG. So I just wanted to clarify that for the public. Okay, we'll go ahead with the 200 West in Providence.
Here is our live stream up. I got an alert saying that someone messed with the stream. Please, I can upload the video.
Good evening, Council. My name is Josh Nelson. I work for Sunrise Engineering. We're the contracted city engineer for Providence City. I'll also introduce Ryan Snow, who's here with us this evening, city manager for Providence City. So this presentation I have is the next two items on the agenda. So it is both 300 South and the 200 West project. So I'll discuss both of them, and then I guess we can do public hearings separately, but kind of a 2-for-1 presentation here.
Okay.
So both projects, 200 West and 300 South in Providence. So I'll discuss the 300 South project first. It's a section of road widening to complete a section of road on 300 South. So there are sidewalks on both sides of the road, curb gutter, a complete roadway section as one of the major collectors into Providence City from SR 165. So safety improvements, enhancing, getting the correct width of the road, also adding in bike lanes for active transportation purposes and sidewalks. 200 West project is from First North in Providence, which is about 1200 South, down to 500 South in Providence. So 6 blocks of roadway reconstruction. This one's involved with the county because 200 West is a county road. This county road is a major road through these communities. There's, I believe, 5 elementary schools within a block of this road, so lots of traffic. It's a major road for Providence and River Heights down to the high school, Ridgeline. Existing road conditions are poor. There is existing curb on the east side of the road, and the plan would be to widen the road and build a sidewalk, curb, and gutter along the west side of the road, as well as a roundabout at the intersection of 300 South, which is a pretty ugly offset intersection, so to fix traffic movement through there. So that's the 2 project locations. Next slide. So project need, kind of discussed a little bit on the previous slide for safety improvements as well as deteriorating road, poorly aligned intersections. This is the CMPO county-wide plan transportation master plan. It's a little difficult to see, but 200 West is a phase 1 project planned to be done here according to the plan within the next between 2032, and then the 300 South project is a phase 2 project. Next slide. So planned improvements, both are major collectors. For 300 South, it's an 80-foot right-of-way. And on 200 West, it's a major collector as well. The existing right-of-way varies from 99 feet down to around 80 feet through kind of where these old city surveys lined up with old farm surveys. So a little differing through there, but this is generally the planned cross-section for both projects. So through lanes, bike lanes, some parking on the side, as well as sidewalks for some awesome active transportation, and this cross section's from the Providence City's Transportation Master Plan. So project cost, the one I have on here today is for 200 West. It includes construction right away, construction management, engineering, design, as well as some contingency money. We're anticipating just over $5 million for this project. And what the city is asking is to split what would be the match on this COG application for funding, $200,000 from Providence, $215,000 estimated at this point from Providence City, and $215,000 from Cache County. The other project, 300 South, the city is not anticipating on asking for any contribution from the county on that little spot improvement there. So yeah, the spot improvement max for the project from the COG is $400,000. So, and then our schedule, following kind of the COG timeline, we're working on design over the next year with plans for construction in 2028. It's kind of the general timeline there. So, any questions?
Anybody have questions?
I just had a question on
Okay.
Sometimes you see the bike lanes on the very outside, so they're sort of protected by the parked cars. Is that, I see in this one, the parked cars are at the very edge and the bike lanes positioned between the parked cars and the traffic. Is that, I just was curious how come it was designed like that?
Protect the cars.
Will someone please think of the cars?
Bikes could hit all the mirrors. I wasn't involved in the creation of the transportation master plan for Providence City, but what I would say is a lot of times when the bike lanes are on the curb, cars park in the bike lanes, and then there's not room for the bikes to bike anymore because it gets taken up by the cars. So I'm assuming that was the thought process there.
Gotcha.
I got a question on the 300 South one. Has there been development occur on either side of that road?
There's,
a house on both sides, residential.
Just residential,
Just
Yep.
a residential house on each side.
no commercial or anything like that in that area.
Commercial at this point, just
But were they recent homes?
No,
They're older, okay.
they're older.
So that's the reason there hasn't been sidewalks.
That's
and
correct.
Okay.
Yep, on the south side, it's one of those islands where the parcel's still in the county, and on the north side, yeah, it's a single home with a bunch of large agricultural field around them, but nothing's been developed besides the
What's
single-family homes.
the other one, what's the reason for the 215,000 Cache County match?
It currently is a county road, so the city's willing to come in and match half with the county, but it's currently a county road.
Currently? Okay.
Currently a county road. So we're just asking for both sides to come together, so.
I have a question about the 300 South. Why is it just that one section? Is it already developed on either side of that?
Correct, yep.
Okay, so that's just,
There's kind of a gap.
Those older homes haven't, no development has occurred and they just need to finish that.
There's been development to the east and west that have built out the road, and there's just these two older homes that haven't been developed at this
Okay.
point. So there's a gap in the roadway. So there's sidewalk on either side of this location and curb and gutter, but through this area, there's not.
Thanks for clarification.
thank you. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak to this? Please approach. Make sure you let us know what your name is, please.
Hi, my name is Joe Cottrell.
Mr.
Sorry.
Cottrell, we need to do a public hearing on each of these separately. So we're gonna do a public hearing on the 200 West project first, before we talk about the 300 South. Is that the one you wish to address?
I actually want to address both.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
we're gonna stand up and wait.
Tell me, make sure I'm doing this right, Dane.
So we need to make his comment on the one we're in the hearing, and then stand up again and make public comment on the next one.
Right
Yeah,
there.
thank
There's
you.
gonna be twice.
We just want to make sure everything's done properly so that this application.
First.
No, we're going to do the 200 West first. Okay,
I'm here speaking on behalf of the elementary schools. I'm a principal at Spring Creek Elementary. We are making the transition from Spring Creek Middle School to elementary. And both of these roads, especially 200 West, has a direct impact on mine and Providence Elementary's safe walking route. And along that road, there's multiple spots without curb and without sidewalk, that this would have a direct impact on those families and ensuring that students make it safely to school. With the transition to Spring Creek, especially being an elementary school, we have students as young as 5 years old using these roads, and they are busy. And I think this is a great opportunity to ensure the safety of students making it to those schools. So, thank you.
okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that's here to speak about the 200 West project?
Good evening, council. My name's Janelle Seeley. I'm on the Providence City Council. I'm just here to express our support for this project, the 200 West, 400 East County Grid Corridor, and 300 South Roundabout. This is a county road. It's County Road 238, and it runs through our municipality. It affects it, I would say, in the language that River Heights use. This is definitely multi-jurisdictional and regional corridor in the CMPO. It connects from Logan through River Heights, Providence, down to Millville, and then it empties out and connects into Nibley City. I think, especially as we look in Cache County, we really do need these corridors to be maintained well, where we don't have freeways and we have our limited highway system. As we continue to grow, these corridors are critical. This is an important regional corridor, and the city is open to considering acceptance of this road from the county with these improvements being made. Bringing this road up to the city standard, adding sidewalk, curb and gutter, that makes it a reasonable consideration for Providence City to take this roadway on. These improvements are not optional. They're essential for the safety, functionality, and long-term stewardship of the area. And it's really important that we invest in this corridor. The county has been collecting funds for the maintenance of this road for decades, and so it feels very appropriate and warranted to fund this project and to bring this road up to standard and to provide the regional mobility and public safety that our municipality and our bordering municipalities need. So I hope you will consider matching the, splitting the match with us, since this is a county road, and funding this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Keck. I am the principal at Providence Elementary. Also here to voice my support for this project. With recent boundary changes in Cache County School District, we've taken on quite a few families from the west side of Providence. There is no clear, safe way for those students to walk and cross 200 West at this time. The ideal would be to get them across the road, I'm told, to then walk down the east side, which has sidewalk. But there's no, on the south end of Providence, there isn't a safe way to get them across the road. With a potential crosswalk further north up by Center Street in Providence, we would like that west side to have sidewalk for these kids to walk down safely to get to that crosswalk to get to Providence Elementary. So again, I would also encourage you to consider strongly helping out with this project for the safety of the kids. I am here to represent many families that have reached out to me who are not satisfied or happy with the options that they have at this point for their students to walk to school. But would appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that is here to speak on the 200 West Road project? Please.
Well, my name hasn't changed. I'm still Brent Speth, so I'd like to address 200 West. I also drove my school bus down 200 West because students were transported to River Heights, and we came over and went down 200 West to the south. And again, kids coming down from the elementary school in Providence, when they got to 200 West, became confused. How do we cross? And they stood there, and the school bus drivers knew what to do, but the traffic didn't always know what to do. And the students were there, and then when they did stop, then you'd see a herd of kids start running to get through the intersection while the cars were stopped. It needs to have more attention to it, as these gentlemen here have spoken regarding these elementary kids. It needs to be more definitive so that they are not confused and they know what to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public that would like to speak to this project?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we close public hearing. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll now open the public hearing on the 300 South project. If there's anyone that'll, please. Mr. Cottrell.
Thank you again. I will just note, we share students that, so Spring Creek Elementary is a dual language immersion magnet school. So we have students coming from Providence to Spring Creek that go along 300 South. And as Mr. Principal Keck alluded or talked about, we are at this time requiring that they cross 200 West to access sidewalk along the east side, and then cross again at Center Street because we don't have sidewalk along the west side. So it becomes a major issue once again with confusing children, figuring out how to access. So I thank you for your consideration. We obviously are in strong support of this and for the safety of students, and speaking on behalf of Cache County School District as well. We've written letters about this these issues as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak about the 300 South project?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we close public hearing. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the last one we have is the 1200 East North End project. Who's here to speak about that one, Matt?
Me again.
Okay. And state your name again, please.
Yep, Josh Nelson with Sunrise Engineering for the 1200 East North End project.
This one's not in our packet.
It is, it's right here.
Where? Should be 9B7. Mine goes from 9B5.
Is it? Yeah, it's it.
I don't have a 9B7. You?
B2.
That's the one we put on hold.
That's the one that got put on hold.
Oh, this is it?
That's the north one.
Yeah.
That's the north one?
Mhm.
Oh, 1200 East.
Further north.
North end. I don't know that. Sorry.
Is it the same one stated twice?
So it's not in here then, right?
No, 5. We end at 5.
This one's not in our packet, correct?
It's your B2.
Oh,
B2?
The super
it's
sunny
all
one.
together.
I thought that was the one they said we were gonna.
Say that one was confused with the other 1200 East one.
Okay, so the one that's 9B, number 7 is the one that is gonna be taken off.
9B number 2.
This is the one we're gonna talk about now.
That was accidentally listed under 9B. The presentation that's correct is accidentally listed under the incorrect.
In the packet.
Title in the
Yeah,
packet.
in the packet.
Got
So
it.
it's,
There's two 12th East projects, which is probably part of the
Yeah.
concern on each side of Hyde Park. So anyway,
So what we get for not naming our streets cute names, you know.
and part of the parentheses is it's 12th East in the county, 1000 East in Smithfield, and it's 700 East in Hyde Park.
not to make it more
Take your
confusing.
pick.
We should probably
Okay.
come up with another name with it, so we get 4. But Josh Nelson with Sunrise Engineering, here on behalf of Smithfield City. We're the design engineer, contracted design engineer for this specific project. So the objective of this project is to connect 1000 East in Smithfield with 700 East in Hyde Park, which is 12th East through the county. There's very few roads that connect through Smithfield and Hyde Park. And part of this goal is to help alleviate traffic off of Highway 89 or 91 to prevent congestion. So it's a phase 2 COG CMPO project priority. It's also identified in the Smithfield Transportation Master Plan. To the right, you kind of see the project map through here where it ties on to 7th East and Hyde Park. It's up above the canal behind the Mickle Dairy, just east of that whole area. And then it ties in under that new development on Skyview Hill on the north side with the proposed roundabout at 600 South and 1000 East in Smithfield. Next slide. This is a CMPO map that shows the phasing priority as well as other future projects and roads planned through the area. Slide. The aerial exhibit of the project area. I'm just giving kind of a better view of where this road will be going. On the bottom of the picture, you see 700 East, and then looking north, you see where it ties into Smithfield City. So project details, kind of the blue north is turned to the right at this point. Kind of the plan for the project is to build a partial cross-section in the blue area. And it would be built out in the future pending development. And then through the red area would plan on building the full cross-section where it's already been developed on the east side. So plans to apply for COG funding this year. Design's been funded by the CMPO already. We're estimating $5 million in COG funding will be the request. And at this point, Smithfield City is not requesting any participation from the county for funding. That's cross-section, so the 80-foot standard cross-section, which will be more on that north end, and then that partial cross-section. Part of the plan is also to build a 8-foot path on the, in this case, the west side of the road, along the canal there to give some active transportation routes between Hyde Park and Smithfield City up there along the canal. Do you have any questions?
Does anybody have any questions for Josh?
Found slide 4 very helpful. I like that aerial view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like to see more of those.
Wish I could take credit for it, but I was very impressed with my engineer who helped me on it, so thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak on this 1200 East North End project? Anybody?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded that we close public hearing. Those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. Jesse, I have all these signed if you want to just come grab them. Like I said, these were not for us to discuss tonight. We're just attesting that we held the public hearing on those, so. Okay, let's go back.
Move that we enter the Board of Equalization.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we enter Board of Equalization to talk about the 2026 assessment roll correction. Move it along.
You got to vote?
EOE.
Do we need to vote on that motion?
Huh?
Did we vote?
Oh, those in favor? Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we enter the Board of Equalization. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. Madam Chair and members of the council, I'm here today to present the request for corrections to the 2026 assessment roll. Under Utah Code 59-2-1333, the assessor may supply or correct errors in the assessment book with the consent of the county legislative body. The corrections before you today represent necessary adjustments identified since the assessor's tax roll was closed on May 22nd. The majority of the corrections in this memo concern specific cluster parcels in the South Valley Recreation Area. There's about 16 parcels there, 16-094-0005 through 16-094-0023. So during our review, it was determined that an incorrect assumption was made regarding the property site characteristics for these cabin lots. The land value for these parcels should have been discounted to account for specific location attributes. We are requesting to correct these land attributes to ensure the assessed values accurately reflect the market conditions for the recreation area. One parcel here we have identified 09-030-0012 was erroneously removed from greenbelt status. The parcel consists of 25.35 acres that meet the criteria for greenbelt. We are requesting to reinstate this status to ensure statutory compliance and fair treatment of this ag land. And then finally, the remaining items on the list involve updates to the residential exemption status for 4 parcels. We're adding the exemption to parcel 04-183-0805, which has been confirmed as the primary residence of a tenant. And we are asking to remove the exemption from 3 parcels where the owners maintain their primary residence elsewhere. 08-155-0310, 07-158-0078 and 03-021-0024. These corrections are essential for maintaining the integrity of the assessment roll, ensuring all property owners are assessed fairly and accurately. So I ask for your blessing and formal consent to approve these corrected assessed values. I'm happy to answer any specific questions that you have.
Does anyone have any questions?
I have more of a procedural question. Are these self-discoveries? Because I know we have a Board of Equalization hearing where someone discovers evidence, presents it to you, and that this is, our office found it and we're making
A little bit of
correction, or-
both. I can't
And
remember
if it is
all.
both, do you know why it doesn't go through the full hearing process?
We could ask them where we feel like it was an error on our part. We can ask to correct that. So we felt that rather than ask them to go through the regular process of appealing, this might be an efficient way to do
Okay,
it.
it's like an out-of-court settlement kind of situation?
We think this is more correct.
Yeah, okay.
Obviously.
All right, thanks.
Were these more like communication error or just a hit the
You
wrong
know,
button? Or?
there's about 53,000 parcels, and so taxable parcels. So I think in the past maybe we should have, and we have in the last few years, we've started to come before you and ask for these corrections, and I assume there will be corrections in the future. But yeah, they're just data or misunderstandings or.
Are these from the patrons that have come forth, or you found these?
I think one,
combination.
the one in the recreation area was brought forth, was brought to our attention.
But several of them, you found the error, and I like that proactive attitude, actually.
So you have a description of where the big number of land attributes are? South
Yeah,
Valley?
these are south and a little east, I think, of Sheep Creek Cove, if you know where that area is, east of Ant Flat Road.
So I was wondering about that, and that's why I'm asking about the Greenbelt, how that got twisted in there, because I've been
I don't
wanting to focus
recall
on that area
exactly.
for a while, on the Greenbelt.
Yeah. I don't believe, I'd have to check, I don't believe that most of those ones that I'm asking for correction are in Greenbelt. I'd have to
No, you
double
just
check
had the
that.
one that I saw.
Yeah, that different one. So,
What are the incorrect land attributes? I mean, obviously, they were all about the same. What was exactly, or overview, what?
you know, there was a landline in our Puma software that I think just needed to be corrected. It was, just an error.
Okay.
It ended up being about double the value that it should be.
Are they all about the same acreage?
Yes, they are roughly the same. I believe they're around 10 acres. I'd have to confirm.
So when we see one go from 112 to 112, and then we have a 277, 278, is that more acreage?
Help me see which parcel you're talking
You're on 1609400018 and 0019. It's more than double what the others are, but it's still the same attribute question.
Can I email you on that and get some,
Sure.
make sure I understand that?
And there's one at 300,000, so.
Well, if you look at the next line over, prop building, they obviously have a separate building that increases the value. I don't know what that means, but is that the explanation?
I'd be happy to.
But that still takes about half of it in the building.
These are the third and fourth ones down on the list, right?
Yeah. Okay, just email me.
Okay. Does anyone have any further questions for our assessor? Would someone make a motion to accept the assessment roll corrections?
All moved.
So I'll second that.
So it's been moved and seconded that we approve the 2026 assessment roll corrections as they've been presented to us. Is there any further discussion?
Did you want to see it first, or you just want to get the information
I'll
after?
take their word on it, so.
Okay.
That hasn't let me get, that's right, so.
All right, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, does someone want to make a motion to exit Board of Equalization?
No, we
The
have
other,
tax relief.
tax relief is not Board of Equalization.
Oh, it's not?
No, I already talked to Diana about
Okay, I move to exit Board of Equalization.
Second.
that. Been moved and seconded that we exit Board of Equalization. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, Diana, tax relief.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Diana Schaefer for the Tax Admin Division of the Auditor's Office. So before you, we have tax relief. 2 hardships, you can all see those in your package. If we can start with the one that's ending in 0012. This is a previous applicant. We do recommend approval on this. He has a disability, has provided all the requisite paperwork.
I would move to approve 0012 at 50%.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve hardship that ends in 0012 for a 50% hardship relief. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Moving on to parcel 0065. This individual does not come with the recommendation for approval as she was non-compliant in providing requested information. At that time, she was also over the income limit. She was also denied in 2018 for over income and has come to us once again. So the recommendation is for a denial.
I'd move to approve 0065 for denial.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we,
On the basis of lack of information.
Non-compliance with the
Non-compliance,
information
okay.
requests and also over income.
been moved and seconded that we accept the denial for the application that ends 0065 for the reasons stated. Any further discussion?
No, maybe we just restate the motion because it was stated as approved for denial, but can we just simplify it to denial?
Okay. Well,
Is that
are you okay with a friendly amendment to, okay,
Same thing.
okay. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
And the next agenda item is for the tax relief extension request. This is something that we bring to you each year. We have, the legislative body has the ability to extend the September 1st tax relief filing deadline through December 31st. We've always chosen November 30th. That's the time that the taxes are due, so that gives us time to close the tax roll. That's why we ask for the November 30th. So we have thousands of applicants that we process for these various types of tax relief, low income, the hardships like we just heard, also blind exemptions, military exemptions, and settlements and deferrals. And so the deadline, as I said, was September 1st, but can be extended if this body moves to approve this November 30th request. And it helps because September 1st passes, and then McAllister will send the actual bill sometime mid-October, but before November 1st. And then there's a lot of people that haven't paid attention to the green light notice that says this is not a bill, and then they're like, oh my goodness, I need some help. So that allows us to, you know, help those people that need it, you know, within that time frame before they have to pay the tax.
Okay, someone want to make a motion about this extension?
Move to extend the filing deadline to November 30th, 2026, 5 p.m. for the low-income abatements, indigent abatements, blind exceptions, senior deferrals, and indigent deferrals.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the tax relief filing extension request that has been before us. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay?
Well, thank you very much. On the signature pages, do you want to just send them with the clerk's office?
Yep, I'll make sure and get them over to him.
Perfect. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Read those afterwards. Okay, we are at number 10, proposals for consideration of action, resolution 2026-28, multi-jurisdiction access request. Matt.
Matt Phillips, Public Works Director, here to discuss this resolution. There's been a lot of discussion tonight on Highway 238, so here's a little bit more. So, just as a reminder why we're here, this resolution, the road manual states that any municipal development that wants access to a county road needs the approval of the council for that. So, next one. There should be something, a letter in your packet. This request came from Danny McFarland of Stackville. It's the access for a new 12-lot subdivision that was recently rezoned within Providence City. He's proposing this access would be a new private road off 400 East, our Highway 238. This is 100 West in Providence. So just kind of showing the location with respect to River Heights and Providence where this is. Highlighted in your screen if you can see it with all of the colors. Providence is kind of the pink color, River Heights is kind of the off yellow color, and our road is in the middle of the slide in the pink highlighted. That's our Highway 238. So this is just barely on the between River Heights and Providence. Next one, this is a little zoomed in of where the proposed development is. There's currently, I think, some ag structures on there with a small ag type driveway access. So, next one. This is a proposal of how he's doing his 12 lots. What you can't see is on the very north edge of this property, there's wetlands, there's some ponds, and there's kind of a little stream. I wouldn't say that they're part of the floodplain, but they are. It is wetlands and it is water, so kind of that's why I think he's proposing a park there, but it's very difficult for this subdivision to access off the Spring Creek Parkway because of the environmental stuff along the north edge of this property. So that's about it.
And Matt?
Can you go back a screen?
Yeah, go back. So in approving this, it's still up to the city to worry about access, like if there's a second egress or the fire codes or whatever. That all we're saying is they're going to access the road that we own.
Correct.
Correct.
And
We're not worrying about the actual development standards.
So as far as those road widths, the lot sizes, the emergency turnaround at the end of the road, all of those types of things, because this is in Providence City, they're all managed in part of their subdivision code or their development code. The only part that we have jurisdiction over is the right-of-way, so it's basically from the right-of-way to our road, that's the part that we have jurisdiction over. So that would be per county standards. Where we run into a lot of issues with these is this road, our Highway 238 is classified as an arterial, a minor arterial. And to put that into perspective of some of the other county roads, that is the road from Mendon to Logan, so the Mendon Road, or from the airport road from the 10th West to Darrell's Appliance. So that's what an arterial is in the county. So our arterial standards for the county are set up for rural, so our road spacing and intersection grids are 660, blocks. And so when you get into these urban environments and you're trying to push additional accesses on our road, they don't meet our standards. So essentially when it gets to my level and they're applying for the actual permit to do the work, we essentially have to issue them a design exception because it doesn't meet our standards. So, but in this case, we've wrote the resolution. Given the fact that there is some, discussions with Providence, on this on the jurisdiction of the road, and essentially he's with the wetlands and some of the natural stuff that's going on along the north property. He needs to access towards our road, so.
Matt, how many feet is there between this, this egress and Spring Creek Parkway? Is it like a block? Like, is it, would it?
No, you're talking a few hundred feet.
Yeah. Like 180, okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
What's the difference on this and what we've set for so long on the River Heights one, where they were doing a subdivision and wanted a county road too?
River Heights is basically the same thing, Nolan, as the council approved that, so now he's gone back. Similar to this one, if we approve this, he's gonna probably go through the subdivision process with the city. He'll have to bring in his power, his water, his sewer, and get his engineer to design the project and the improvements. So they're not really moving forward with these projects until they get the council's approval. Same with the last one, we haven't heard back from him because he's probably in that subdivision approval stage and all the improvements, like his sewer, his water, those types of things. He's probably working through the city of River Heights for all that. So he hasn't been back for us to actually get the permit to come in and do the work.
It's just, I've heard so much of River Heights and that issue, and I've
Yeah.
heard very little of this one. So,
How does this, if we approve this access, does that affect at all the plans that we have to like chip seal that road, or the things that we plan to do before we let ownership of that change? Like, will that make any difference?
So he has one access that he'll probably have to close, so he'll probably have to remove some curb and gutter. But his current access is not in that location, so where he's proposing, he'll have to move that location, and most of that's gonna be from the asphalt back. So, because this is a private road, you're not gonna see big intersections and street cuts like that. He'll most likely leave most of the asphalt intact and just be working back. So Sandy, it shouldn't affect any of our, more so it would be if he has to bring his sewer and water and stuff that has to cut the road. That would have more impact than his private driveway.
He'd be responsible for all of that.
Yeah.
And then, so the frontage on 238 would be the county standards?
Yes, because that's,
Which
again,
is-
this is probably part of the issue going back is Providence doesn't have.
Is Providence then gonna be mad because it's not up to their standards?
Providence
When we
isn't,
give it to them?
Providence isn't here to answer that, but when I reached out to Providence, they didn't have any comment of whether they were supported or against it.
We could speed this up really fast.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Anybody have any other questions for Matt? Okay, thank you. This is an initial proposal. It's a resolution. Does anyone want to make a motion on this, or do you want to continue it or pass it? I'm at your disposal. Looks like we'll continue that until the next meeting. I don't have a motion on that. Okay, 10B, ordinance 2026-33, the square footage exemption for geotechnical reports. Brian. Okay, Brian already presented this. Does anyone have any questions for Brian? Do you want to discuss this?
What's special about 2,200 feet?
2,400 square feet.
No, 22. We already had 200 square feet, right?
Yeah.
Now we're on the 24, so what's
Yeah.
so special about 2,200 feet?
We just thought about the majority of the sizes of accessory buildings we get are 60 by 40 or under. When we get the bigger buildings than that, they usually have a second story or a loft, or they're putting dividing walls in it. So we thought if we're gonna raise the square footage, let's do it to our most common buildings so that we can help the most amount that we can. So that's kind of where 60 by 40 foot
That
building
explains
came
it
into
really
play.
good.
Yeah, we threw a dart at a board. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, any other questions for Brian about this exemption? changing this exemption?
So we see a lot of buildings, barns going up and out in the county. So are we being careful of what we're classifying as an agricultural building? Just because it's on Greenbelt, or what's going on in that manner? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so right now, the agricultural buildings aren't gonna change how we issue those. This is for the accessory buildings.
But are we sure that all of those that are being built are agricultural buildings?
We take them at their word. They sign a document that says that it will always be an ag building. They can never change the occupancy. Yeah, as far as determining people's intentions in the future, we don't do that.
Yeah, my thoughts are more comment than question, but if we're gonna pass it, we have to enforce it. And I think that's Nolan's point. I don't know how we enforce this all that well.
Well, I see a lot of buildings going up that, pickleball courts, whatever else, something's going on in there, so.
There's
How many square feet do you
sound
need for a pickleball court?
paddle, a racket tapping.
Well, it's just that you go back a couple of years, and Kathleen Howell, when she was the assessor, she had to go in and at the request of the state, check to see what was in or going on in those buildings. And so, are we doing that? I mean, I'm not pointing the finger at anybody, but I'm just saying, just like Mark said, if we approve it, how do we understand it? And that's my question.
Yeah, ag buildings, you know, I've been here a long time. We've done a lot of ag buildings, and, you know, if they meet certain criteria, they can have them. If they do electrical or plumbing in them, a lot of people get electrical and plumbing inspections. That's about the best we can do on an ag building. I think this helps us with accessory structures because, you know, a lot of people come in with a building and they say, oh, you gotta get a geological report. Well, never mind, it's an ag building. So I think this is actually gonna help us. Instead of somebody maybe not being fully upfront about the ag building, now they'll get a permit for an accessory structure, and then it can be all up front and legit. So I think this will help our case, not hurt it.
Any other questions, or does someone want to make a motion on this?
I guess we'd waive the rules on this, right? I move to waive the rules and pass ordinance 2026-33, square footage exemption for geotech reports.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we suspend the rules and pass ordinance 2026-33. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Brian. All right, Andrew, 2026-34.
The C and D.
Andrew, this is.
Yeah,
okay.
get a couple of the
Okay.
presentation.
Good evening, Council. Before you is ordinance 2026-34. Before I begin, I'm going to pass out a paper. Half of it you've already received. The other half just details some of the processes that are proposed in this ordinance. They're pretty, just quick references, so.
We can share.
Let's begin. So Utah code allows for counties to enact several optional sales taxes. Currently, the following two taxes are enacted in Cache County. First off is what is called the TRCC tax. This is mostly known here as the restaurant tax, just as a quick reference. And the second one is the RAPS tax, which also has its own unique long title, but the most important references in this are going to be the RAPS tax and the restaurant tax, which most of you are already familiar about. The RAPS tax is used to support recreational and zoological facilities, and the restaurant tax is to help finance tourism promotion in the county, as well as the development, operation, and maintenance of airports, convention centers, cultural facilities, recreation facilities, and tourist facilities in the county.
Quick question.
Yes.
On that, right there, enacted in Cache County, that the RAPS tax is by vote.
Correct. That one does every 10 years.
So it is enacted, but it is
For now.
by vote by the people every 10 years, right?
Yes. The next one will be 2032.
Right, I think that's important to also say.
Yes. So some more background. County code defines the specifics of how Cache County implements some of the requirements of those tax programs that state code lays out, such as the process of awarding funds, the size of the advisory board, what specific percentage allocations can be spent in what category of awards, et cetera, et cetera. Those parts of county code are chapters 3.80 and 3.82. Right now, Cache County uses a joint advisory board to advise on both for the applications to the RAPS tax and the restaurant tax. That's why it's referred to as the RAPS and Restaurant Tax Advisory Board, just to clear up any confusion there. So right now, at the moment, there are several outdated provisions in county code governing the specifics of how Cache County implements these programs, as well as lack of definition of several important issues such as out-of-cycle awards, formal requesting changes in scope of applications, and automatic return of unused funds, as well as some other number of issues. But just in short, the ordinance itself aims to correct the provisions relating to these two tax programs. Like I said, there are several outdated and defunct provisions, and there are certain processes that really ought to be defined at very minimum, and some additional requested technical changes from the program administrator, and just some things that me and the auditor thought would be some good additions as well. So the first one is just some technical changes to the restaurant tax implementation. So on your papers, it might be referenced as the TRCC, but again, I want to emphasize that essentially that is just the restaurant tax. This would remove some outdated language related to 2010, 2009, 2010 date clauses. So state law actually allows you to use these funds for airports. County code currently doesn't list that as a permissible use, so that addition is important. And this specifically says that not only is this board going to be appointed by the county council, but specifically it's going to be exercised by a joint board referenced later on in code. So that way it clears up a little bit of legal confusion if you're reading it for the first time, and independent by itself. But it also updates the definition of restaurant. I had some questions on that earlier. I believe the state and the state tax commission oftentimes are going back and forth on changing what the specifics are under what a restaurant is. So I believe the ordinance itself says restaurant means whatever the state defines it as. It keeps it rather simple. Does anyone have any questions so far? Yes.
I don't know if this is, but is there one board to do both? Okay.
Yep.
And there is reason, because a lot of the applications can actually cross over.
Correct.
To each other, and it makes it a lot more, I guess it stretches the dollars when you're able to use some here, some there in applications. It works out really good.
Yep, that way you also don't have to have two different boards meeting at different times and trying to coordinate all those logistics too, between which one you're gonna apply for. So it's nice to have them all at once. But in terms of amendments to the RAPS tax itself, under chapter 3.82, this is where most of this entire process is defined. So right now, the ordinance, County Code 3.82 is rather short, and while it's to the point, it still has, it's lacking in a lot of details. So this ordinance would expand and reorganize the chapter. It wouldn't be essentially muddling together different details that belong in different sections, so it's more of an organizational thing. But it does specifically add the general requirement for voter reauthorization every 10 years under state statute, so there's no confusion about that. It adds the statutory definition of a zoological organization, and it clarifies that zoological funds can be used for either capital projects or operating expenses. That is also permissible under state law specifically. This reassigns the program administrator to report to the county auditor. This is given that the county auditor is now the county's finance officer, given the change within the past few years and the fact that the program is just administered under the finance office anyway. This specifically defines the board as a seven-member board appointed directly by the county council, and that is also by state code as well. And this is probably one of the first substantive changes here, is that this would set a 2-year term limit for all the appointees to the board. So far, it's been 1-year appointments, but if you want to have someone on the board for a little bit to gain experience, this gives them a little bit of time, but also keeps it short enough that if you want a change in membership, you can just wait the 2 years and go for someone new. But it also says that the board itself will elect a chair, and the chair has to be an appointed council member. So that way there's a little bit of knowledge and organization kind of leading the board itself. Another addition is that it mandates a level of recusal for the members on the board who are affiliated with like an applicant organization before the board, with the exception of a county council member if the application is from the county. Does anyone have any questions on anything that I've said on this slide? Okay. All right. Continuing on with the amendments to chapter 3.82, this is probably one of the more important substantive parts. If you look on the back of the page that was printed out, page 2 of 2, this is where a lot of this comes in. So right now there is no defined way for someone to technically apply for applications outside of the set January to May regular cycle. That's when most of the people submit their applications, the review, county council goes through them. Right now there's not an exception to any of that, and I would suggest plainly saying they aren't allowed, period, which that is acceptable, but with the out-of-cycle applications as it's written now in the ordinance itself, it would establish a formal cycle by which the county council first takes, I take that back. Someone who is seeking an out-of-cycle application submits a written paper application to the administrator, which in this case is Alma Burgess with the finance office. Afterwards, it comes to the county council, and the county council can either say yes or no to send it to the advisory board, but there's a specific legal, how do I say this, a legal hurdle to be met, which is if the request meets the strict threshold of an emergency, time-sensitive grant deadline or critical operational window that otherwise cannot wait until the next application cycle. So this kind of defines that. It also strictly bans the use of grant funds for indirect costs for those who are awarded the funds for indirect costs, administrative overhead, or facilities expenses, which, as I've come to learn, is more of a standard practice when it comes to giving out grants of this type, at least. But with the 31-month spending limit, this is something that some of the council members have expressed some interest in the past, is giving a hard deadline of when to spend money by. And the idea initially was 24 months, but Alma came up with the idea that we should do 31 and a half months, because if you go 31 and a half months after the initial award in May of a year, that gives you until December of 2.5 years later to essentially figure out if you need to be applying for funds again or to submit your final report. So that way the cycle just lines up well. But it also mandates that unspent funds at the end of that time period are returned to the county council, sorry, not the county council, to the county within 14 days of expiration. So that also sets that hard, specific deadline so that the county can take that money back if it's not been spent. This also prohibits extension requests unless they're submitted at least 90 days before they're expiring. So that means you can't come in a week after, say, your playground, let's say your costs have run overboard when you're constructing a playground out in the middle of nowhere. You can't come in just a week before and say, by the way, we need an extension. You probably should know that something has gone awry. So that gives a reasonable amount of leeway for review.
Okay, let's go back.
Yes.
You said that unspent funds be returned to the county?
Yes.
They didn't really ever get they apply for the funds,
Yeah,
but if they haven't.
They don't get the money until, they show that the funds or that they've spent.
Yeah, it's a
like a
reimbursement, not a.
No, and I understand.
Yeah, it's
that
a
was just-
reimbursement. It's not you don't give them the money first and then.
So there's nothing to return unless money's been
That's
spent.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yep. And, well, the idea is specifically if, sorry, I know that with a lot of the requests, I know that some have been before the county council to do change of scope awards. It's kind of like, well, we've spent this much money and now there's this remainder. So there isn't necessarily an automatic provision saying that that just goes back to the county. But unless I've been misinformed, which may very well be the case, but
I think your idea is correct. I just think the word return the money is a different
It's been
term.
awarded and then they forfeit it.
Yeah,
Forfeited.
just say they
probably
forfeited.
better. Sorry, that's probably,
Yes,
Is that right, Matt?
okay then.
Okay.
that's a better.
Yeah, forfeited, not the,
Yeah.
apologies. Let's see.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. Yes, so with the scope of award changes, which is something that has come before the county council a few times, there's also not a defined process for that. In this event, the ordinance would say that if there are unforeseen events or the grantee submits a formal writing change of scope request to the administrator prior to the grant's expiration date, the county RAPS Tax Advisory Board then convenes to review the request. Then after that, it gives the recommendation to the county council. Then after that, the council evaluates the request and grants formal authorization via a legislative resolution if it so chooses. That's not a mandate.
I worry about that one.
Yep.
Because I think that at that point, when we've accepted and we've actually passed the allocations, I think that at that point, it is the council that owns that, and that advisory board does not. So I think it would just stick with the council to make that change. Am I wrong? I just don't think we have to go convene that board again,
For the scope of change.
because they've just given us the ideas, and then when we've enacted on it, then that is the ownership of the council. And so I don't think that review board would have to go back and look at it again.
I agree.
I just want to hear his whole presentation and then maybe we
Sorry.
can discuss. Would that be all right?
No, I'm fine with taking questions along the way, but with, let's see, where was I?
Sorry, Keegan, interrupted again.
Oh, you're good.
13,
I have
yes.
these questions
Kinda
too.
picking on
I'm
me
trying to
now.
jot them down on the way.
Yep. So this would codify a fixed reporting schedule, which is currently not in county code. Specifically says here you have to give a number of progress reports and then a final closeout report to the program administrator just to make sure that everything is going to plan. That also helps keep those accountable along the way to make sure that they're meeting that 31.5-month deadline. And the last thing that would be an amendment to this chapter would be, it would establish an official board logo, and it would encourage and give permission directly to the grant recipients to display it on unfunded assets and marketing materials. That had been a question before that had been brought up to the administrator, and this would just be making it explicit that it can be used. So. But yes, I essentially went over the main process improvements, or at least establishing their, let's see. That's everything that I have in presentation. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
So I'm not on the wraps for it, but I'm gonna ask you guys a question. It seems to me, and I know Matt's gonna be talking about it, but the out-of-cycle part here, because when the original applications come in, they're during January, February, and you vet each one of them. So now we have money that we leave in there that's not awarded, but then we have a emergency is what we're classifying for an out-of-cycle. Seems like that is going to be considered not against those others who were not granted any money. And I'm trying to see the fairness of how an out-of-cycle review works with those who were in that original discussion of money. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I had the same question, because when you get them all, you're considering them
Right.
relative to each other.
Then when an emergency
Yes.
comes in, it's by itself.
Yes. And sometimes there's surplus money, so it might be easier to.
And most of those that do not, they're usually scored quite low.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even compare probably with an emergency type request that may occur later.
But if you know that we've put an out-of-cycle in here, is the board always going to pad that excess money down the road,
Yeah.
or what happens there?
And I would see more, if we've kept just, it's had unlimited fund balance. And that's kind of been practice to have that there
Okay,
for,
so-
even though this isn't practice that we've had, but we've had it there for if there is some contingency.
Do you think there's equal consideration in the January to May versus an emergency one who's by himself in consideration? I just hope that we're giving that equal.
I think in the last few years, we've had some things pop up that were unforeseen that we needed to consider, but there was no formal process to do that legally, but we were kind of doing it anyway. This formalizes the process, and it just makes it so that the council can choose whether we think it's an emergency or whether we even want to consider it. The first vote would be, do we even consider it? If we do, it goes back to the RAPS Advisory Board. They look at the merits of it and make a recommendation to us, and then we take a vote again. And I understand what you're saying, Nolan, that it's, but think about the things that have come up, like at the last minute, the opera canceled all their dates, and all the theaters were gonna go out of business if we didn't do some real emergency funding for some of the other theater groups. Like, things happen that were unforeseen, and there has to be a legal process in the code that allows us to look at those applications off-cycle.
My question lies upon emergency, because
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean emergent, there's several different classifications.
Unforeseen.
Unforeseen.
Yeah.
Let's-
Unforeseen, I think.
Yeah, is
Unforeseen, I think, is
then I leave
the,
then I leave my application till I'm the only one considered.
well, but it's up to this body to determine if that's
We even
something
look at
wants
it.
to be entertained.
Yeah. There
I
have
mean,
been
it's
some
arbitrary,
specific.
but still, it's up to this body to say.
Either way, in any of the scenarios, whether it's the natural process or the exception process, it's up to this body to determine if it's a need
Yeah.
for the community.
George, did you want to say something?
I just, as I look at voting and how you do voting, the way you typically do things is by majority vote. If I then veto it, it comes back and you have to override the veto with a 2/3. If you require something to be a 2/3 vote,
Your veto's gone up.
Veto proof.
and I guess what I'm saying is I think if a majority of the county council wants something, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to put a 2/3 on it. I think it's an appropriation. I kind of question whether we should ramp up to 2/3 vote on anything, because what you're doing that way is and frankly, I'm really not hot on vetoing anything, but I think emasculating the county executive's veto by saying we're not gonna pass anything unless it's 2/3 really means that you're taking the county executive out of the legislative process, which I don't think
anymore then, do we?
which I don't think we should be doing.
The second half of that statement, I agree.
Back to the question that Nolan raises, I think that's a good reason to send any request out of cycle back to the advisory committee. And I had a hard time hearing Sandy, but
sorry.
I think she may have made that point, but it seems to me that by sending things back to the committee, who did prioritize things, you really avoid a situation where somebody escapes full review because they know how the system ran when they approved things. So,
This gentleman's raising his hand, but I don't think there's a public comment period.
There is no
It's
public
not a
comment,
public
I'm sorry.
comment meeting.
Sorry, sir.
This is why I came.
Sorry, there's not a public comment about this ordinance. It's an ordinance that the council's considering.
And why is that?
Because it was not noticed as a public hearing, and it's a internal
So you don't
council.
want the public's input on this?
No,
How
that,
about another city?
Point of
I'm
order.
from the Paradise City Council. I would love to share our comments on the exact thing we're talking about.
I'm sorry, we didn't notice a public hearing, so we can't accept public
well,
comments
let
at
me
this time.
say something. Paradise submitted an application that was late, like
No, it
10
wasn't late.
minutes.
It was early. They
Okay,
just wasn't
whatever it
accepted
was,
because of the
I'm trying to
software.
help you. I'm trying to help you by parroting what I understand about Paradise so that you have the benefit of that information. Paradise had two requests. The report I received, inaccurate or whatever, is that one was not considered because it was late or incomplete or something. And so Paradise has been sitting out there with a proposal that didn't get into the queue that was considered by the committee. That's one of the things that happened this year.
Okay. Let's go through this ordinance. If we wanted to consider passing it tonight, we need to consider any changes to it. And it looks to me like we're not going to be able to pass it tonight
We
because,
didn't get your questions, all right?
Well, no, I still had some, but
let's
but
keep
it's
going.
30 pages, and I think I got it yesterday. I need more time. And,
yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Let's keep talking about specific things. The one is 3.82.080, number 4, remove the 2/3 vote. That was the other one. When you have the paper that you gave us that said the money is returned to the county, that verbiage is not anywhere in this ordinance, is it?
I was going to say, we'd have to check the specifics.
I didn't see, I saw it in your explanation, but I didn't specifically see it in the,
Number 10?
in the ordinance.
Also talked about changing returning to forfeit.
It's on page 18, I believe.
I'm just looking through it.
Under 3.82100.
The change of scope. Clawback. It says, uses the word clawback. I don't know that that's.
Under D, it says unspent project funds must be returned to the county within 14 calendar days of the award letters.
Okay, yeah, that verbiage is not. Okay. All right. So we need to do some work on this.
Sandy?
Yes.
Oh, excuse me. It's over our discussions, we talked about the composition of the advisory committee.
Yes. We'll deal with that before we convene
Oh,
the
just,
committee in the
okay.
spring.
But that doesn't need to be addressed in the actual ordinance?
No, because that's already part of state code. We will deal with that
We
as we
just are
move
out
into the
of
next season.
compliance with our state code. Okay, gotcha.
I just wanted to mention, or just something to consider about the logo or some sort of attribution that it's paid for by county. I think it's presented as an option in here. I'd love to make that a requirement, and maybe we make it a requirement if a certain percentage of the project is funded by RAPS, but I think it gives the public the opportunity to have that feedback loop of like, this is my tax dollars at work.
So currently, they do have to give some credit, like on a plaque or on a program or something. They do have to say funding is provided by, but the logo would, if we could develop, I thought we had a logo.
Just to have some sort of standard.
We do?
Yeah,
There is one.
There's
Yeah,
a
'cause
RAPS.
I've seen it.
I don't remember the word. I've seen them on a lot of facilities, but I don't know that it's on all
You
of them.
see a lot of the signs, but I didn't know that it was required. I think it was just smart.
It does say it in the application though.
I know, but I think it was smart how they, that they do attribute and there's signs put up in the brass little things, but
Yeah, maybe.
I did not know that it was ever required, but.
But maybe we define that a little bit more clearly.
Yeah.
Like, if there's a disclaimer, it's like it has to be displayed prominently or has to occupy this much percentage of just some sort of guidelines so people know what that means.
Okay, so we've got all some work to do to get back to Andrew, the things that we want amended on this
Madam
ordinance.
Chair, would it be all right to suggest that this go through O&P?
That would be perfect if they can do it in the next 2 weeks.
Can we get that added to this Friday's agenda and still meet the posting deadline, Andrew?
Oh, you guys already
Let's
have
do
a
that.
meeting.
Yeah, we have a
Thank
meeting
you.
this Friday.
8:30.
8:30. Anybody who has any changes, they need to make sure they get it to someone on the OMP committee before
Yep.
Thursday
Can you
night.
add that Mark needs to bring donuts to that meeting too?
Mark,
Made the
bring-
suggestion that we move this to be
He
item
didn't
on
hear.
the agenda for Friday.
They can clean it up for us to pass next week, or at our next meeting. Okay. So we want to continue that one. We don't want to take a vote on that ordinance tonight. And then, so 10E and 10F need to be struck from our agenda because we are not able to consider those requests until this ordinance is
documented
passed,
correctly.
that outlines the out-of-cycle procedure.
DE and
And I agree with what you're doing here, but on these two requests for out-of-cycle review, there's certain standards that have to be met before these should come before us. Should these parties be advised that they need to do that so that they're properly before us at the next meeting?
Yes.
That is, they should presume we're gonna pass the ordinance.
Mr. Daines, I've reviewed both applications, and they do meet the standards that are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have,
All
we've
right. I
received.
just didn't want to get a surprise to them.
Yeah,
Okay.
they've already submitted letters and submitted the,
And they do have in them the reason why they're being asked. Okay, all right.
See, and that's what I worry, that we're kind of held to one hostage because we haven't
Yes.
approved it.
and that's why we need to
You know.
make this
And that's what, so they went ahead and did what we told them to go do, and now we're the ones that getting the stink on our face for it, so.
and that's why we need to make sure this works. When is our next appropriations meeting? Is it August 24th?
Our next appropriations, let me back up. Our next budget opening is the second meeting in September. And although I haven't discussed this yet with Mr. Andrews, or Mr. Erickson, we are hoping to do appropriations on the 14th.
Okay.
Monday.
That gives us time
So
then.
if we can get this done on
The 25th. Yep.
We could make this work if the board would, advisory board would get together that fast.
Do we not have one
We had one on the
on the
24th.
24th?
So are we gonna cancel the appropriations meeting on the 24th then?
Yes.
Okay, that was gonna be your suggestion?
Yes.
Okay.
That's because you were assigned donuts on that day.
So you wanna do it on September 14th?
Yes, I think that's a Monday.
At what time?
I already have that calendar right in front of me.
It is a Monday, yes.
I have 2 meetings that day at noon already, so it's gonna have to be later in the afternoon. Okay, yeah, this is kind of, I'm sorry, this was a little confusing. I was hoping we could get this passed tonight, but it obviously needs more work. So, okay, I need someone, if they would, make a motion to strike number E and F off of our agenda. D was a duplication of C, so that.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we strike.
Strike it or just move to the next meeting?
Just
Yeah.
continue would be fine.
Continue,
too.
continue E and F to our next meeting. Strike D because it was a duplication. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We don't have to make a
Do
motion.
we need to vote on a continuation? I don't think we do.
No, that's fine.
Okay, all right. That's continued. Pending items. 11A. Resolution appointing members to the Cache County Regional Recreation Center feasibility study. County Council Regional. This is a council board. Andrew, go ahead.
Council, I'm listed as the presenter on this, but you were all present last week when this was discussed. The names that are still in the appointing resolution to this advisory committee to the county council are still the same. If you have any questions, I am here to answer.
Okay, does any
question? What happened to the additional names that were submitted that aren't on the committee?
Sorry.
You have our attention.
Thought that was a fly.
Excuse me.
I believe, so to answer your question, the appointing resolution itself has 3 spots for council members, up to 3. And for the advisory members, there are 6. There were 10 names that were floated from my count, and so there were 4 names not included. These were the ones that I was directed to put in the resolution as placeholders, but this means that anyone on the county council can motion to amend or strike any names that they would like. So if you are unhappy with any of the names, you are within your right to insert the ones you would like into the resolution.
Well, I'd prefer an uneven number of people. So would it be possible to increase the number, maybe have 3 from the north, 3 from the south, 3 from the county seat instead of 1?
That is a good question. There is a way to do that. In terms of the actual composition of the committee, I don't think that that can be changed by this resolution, but you could you could list a 3rd member of the county council, so then the number would be 9 in total, not just 8. So.
Well, or more. I mean, what's wrong with 13 or 11 or 15 or?
The resolution that originally established the advisory committee itself specifically laid out the number of members. So that would have to go back and amend that in a different resolution, but.
That's what I'd recommend, that we make an amendment to it.
I understand.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt. Are you going to
No,
make a
I'm
motion or?
Well, I don't know, do I have to, or can we say we want to amend it and then work on it for another time, or what?
That is up for the body to decide.
So I just want to clarify something. There was a previously passed resolution that set the number of members. And so there would need to be not this resolution appointing members, there would have to be a new resolution noticed up changing the number of members on the board, so that you could vote against appointing anyone or ask this to be continued, but there need to be a new resolution, not just an amendment brought to change the actual composition of the board as far as numbers.
On this board, we're being even, even if the votes were all for it, it's just a recommendation. The council still has to settle and accept that or not accept it. So the importance of an odd number seems lower to me on this committee. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, it's an advisory
No
committee,
bite.
so a tie is just no recommendation.
Exactly.
It's still up to the council.
Yeah, they may not even take a vote. That might
Exactly.
not even be part of the process.
But I know one reason we continued it was so that we could vet the people on the committee. And I don't know, did any of you try to vet them? I tried, but I didn't get a hold of all of them. They didn't respond.
So
I would like a little more time, personally.
we heard from 3, I think, who were here last time, and I see 2, 1 new one, and I think someone was here earlier and had.
He's.
I don't know if I can blame him for not sticking it out.
Speak on his behalf. So I guess that's a load for you to carry, Matt.
So I will say there is an opportunity to address at least, 1 here, making it 4 of the 6. But yeah, to answer your question, I did have the opportunity to talk to a couple of them.
Yeah, I move that we approve the resolution 2026-26 with the names as listed.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve Resolution 2026-26, appointing members to the Cache County Council Regional Recreation Center Feasibility Study Committee. Is there any further discussion on that motion?
Just who's going to be responsible for training us all to use that acronym?
It's up to, not me. Okay, if there's no further discussion, those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. And hopefully you'll have a chance that people will get back to you. I personally know these people, and I think
Well, I don't personally know them, and I contacted them, but they haven't all got back to me.
Okay. All right, the UAC Annual Convention in Provo. Has everyone given Andrew your travel plans for that week? Anybody who hasn't? Do you have what you need, Andrew?
There's someone who has not responded yet, but I will not name them.
Okay. We won't
Male,
make you do that.
female.
You're not gonna throw anybody under the bus? That's very good of you.
Well, it's not me.
Yeah.
Mark.
It's not me. I'm just narrowing it down for you.
All those that have. Razor?
Okay, let's get home. Let's go to council member reports. Joanne, do you want to start us out?
I don't have anything.
Okay, Keegan.
Sorry, I know I'm standing between us and home, but I do have a few things. So
Go ahead.
If you'll bear with me.
Nope, let us.
So, COSAC, a while ago, I think you might remember when we presented the option of potentially combining the funds with the Greenbelt rollback. And we declined to do that and to keep them in two separate funds. So there are situations in the meeting where they have applications that really make more sense as agricultural preservation that don't necessarily meet the criteria of the broader open spaces bond. For example, like public access, we may get a project that doesn't really have any of those factors, but it would be a good use of the Greenbelt funds, or maybe more accurately, more appropriate use of those funds. So one of the things that came up in the meeting was COSAC, the body asked me, do you want us, when we make a recommendation to the council, that we recommend the type of funds that we're saying ought to be used for this project? And I understand where they're coming from. Sort of like we talked about the difference between the wrapped tax and the restaurant tax. Like, I don't know if it makes sense to have a COSAC board and then like a Greenbelt board as well. So, and it also, I think it makes it more confusing to the applicant. Are you applying for open space or are you applying for rollback? So, I guess my question for this group is, and you don't have to answer right now, but would you appreciate if COSAC made those recommendations on how the funds ought to be applied? Or do you want them to stay out of that?
I'm trying to go back, when we talked about this, it was, agriculture was definitely included in the open space.
Are we trying to boot them out of the whole COSAC project?
So
Not at all. It's a factor. So I think it's like a 15-point factor on that.
So we've covered it, because that was definitely a discussion in this council when that was brought forward, is that agricultural meets open space, which people are wanting.
Totally true. Yep.
So Keegan,
Maybe I'm not explaining. it
could
very
they
well.
come with just their recommendations and then this body determines the funding mechanism for it?
That-
So some of it could be rollback and some of it could be the bond,
Yep.
and then they just come with their recommendations, and then the funding mechanism is part of discussion in this forum? I
Yes.
don't know, what does
So
the council
maybe-
think of that?
I just don't want it to evolve into a trails committee and, and
Yeah,
public
that's
access
what-
committee and.
I
and
don't know, Mark.
I think it
Well,
needs to be
I'm
together.
going to try to state it, correct me if I'm misunderstanding it, but what I think you're saying is someone applies, COSAC reviews it, they're like, no, this is rollback. You're just saying, can we authorize COSAC to say in their recommendation that it's a recommendation for denial of a COSAC step 1 or whatever, and that they recommend they talk to us about rollback?
Yeah, so maybe another way to state it is, let's say a project comes forth and it's scored, their scores out of 100, right? They look at, I think, 7 different factors. And let's say it scores like a 21 overall on COSAC. So they're like, we would probably recommend this for denial because it doesn't really stack up against the other projects.
Just because it's ag-based.
No,
No.
Just because
scores low.
there's several factors that it might score 20 out of 20 on ag, but it might score a
That's what
0.
I'm saying. Because it's ag-based, it scores low because they did not allow public access in those things.
It's
I
like
guess
riparian areas and if the wildlife and, I mean, it's one of the many factors. I don't know
Sure.
why it would score that low if it were ag, because it would most likely
Have a lot of
hit
other
multiple
Yeah.
ones. I think that,
we
the example
we
is
could
maybe
get into
just
the
a little-
nuance now
yeah,
if
the
you
example
want,
might
but
just be a little.
I'm just trying to keep it high level because
Yeah.
maybe even more broadly stated, it might score low on COSAC relative to other projects, but if it was just looked at from a Greenbelt rollback, it might be a very appropriate use of those funds.
Well, and I guess, we voted to keep the two funds separate, so there has to be some mechanism that we would consider spending our rollback money, right?
Yeah, and I think the public voted for a bond for a certain purpose with a certain understanding. And I think if we don't delineate what those are, then that water could get muddied and they'd say, I didn't really vote for the bond to go towards this necessarily, or at least I think there's another project that's a higher priority.
But so then we would have to develop a type of screening process for that, the rollback.
Well, we don't have to do that necessarily. All I'm saying is, would it be appreciated if COSAC made a recommendation on what funds we should use, or do you just want them to present the score for COSAC and leave the Greenbelt side of it out of it? That's really the heart of my question.
But the part I'm trying to understand here is when they go to COSAC, we're using some agricultural entities to support and go with that funding. And if we're saying it's not agricultural or that it's not a COSAC, where does that leave the applicant if he's looking for NRSC funds or Bear River Land Trust, who's an agricultural?
Utah Land Trust, all them.
All of those
all
are
ag.
agricultural based, and they're involved in the open space. And I thought it's been a good marriage.
Yeah.
And so, I'm not attacking, but I'm just saying, we separate the agricultural out, and now does he get the help, or they get the help of matching with those others if we've got the Greenbelt? We need to look at that.
How do we anticipate being able to make decisions about using that Greenbelt fund, the Greenbelt fund? Because we know we have it, and we have to use it if we don't use it within 5 years of when it's put into that account, then it goes automatically to the state. Like, we want to have an avenue to use that fund.
Well, could we
I
not?
don't know what that is.
And I do have those amounts. I had our treasurer prepare
So
those
it's
if you'd like.
score ag higher, and then it would then those funds could actually then be used for that.
Yeah, I feel like examples of applying it and in a situation where you're running into that particular question would be helpful, for me at least.
Yep.
Yeah, and maybe that's what's going to
In this council members' reports discussion.
Yeah, so I can give you a specific example whereupon an applicant, they originally presented their land that was on frontage road, and then they came back and so when it was voted on, when it was scored by COSAC, they thought, yes, this has public benefit because it's on a frontage road, people are going to see it. If it's preserved as ag, that's great, that's part of COSAC. And then the proponent said, well, actually, I want to have my family build, 6 lots, and they're going to put them along the frontage. So now the frontage is potentially blocked. So the public benefit, one could argue, is lessened. However, because it's preserving ag, it's still a great use, and the state wants to preserve ag, but it doesn't have the same, it's not meeting the same standard as COSAC, the scoring mechanism. So the question was, do we take it back and rescore it? And if it scores low, maybe we don't recommend it to the council because relative to other projects, it's very low. But for Greenbelt money, this could make a lot of sense. So should we bring it to the council and say, we recommend you use these funds? Or do you want us to just stay in our lane and just score COSAC projects and move on? Does that make sense?
I think what Keegan is suggesting here makes a lot of sense if we're interested in preserving agricultural uses. And there is a difference between preserving agricultural uses and COSAC standards. And I think we ought to recognize that. And I think our COSAC committee is perfectly attuned to make that distinction. Because I think we want to preserve agriculture with those Greenbelt monies. So I think we ought to have them give you advice on it.
I agree. Like, what other avenue are we gonna set up to consider using that Greenbelt money within the 5-year period that we have that we're restricted? Is there any other way that makes sense?
But it should augment the COSAC monies too, though.
Yeah, yeah.
We shouldn't just like boot them out of COSAC just because it's straight ag.
No, I'm not.
No.
No one's talking about booting anyone out. It's just.
Because I voted for that. I did not vote for that for trails.
Yeah.
I voted for it because of the ag concept.
Right, but some people did vote for trails, and that's why it's a component in the scoring.
Okay, anything, what else, Keegan?
Okay, sorry guys, I still got a couple more. So airport board, we heard about the sponsor board. I won't go into that, but that's forthcoming. Wanted to talk a little bit about taxes, if I could, just to frame the context of our upcoming discussions and budgets. The Cache County School Board recently approved a 37.1 tax increase. They went 6 years without an increase. If I did the math correctly, compounding interest, that would have been about a 5.4 increase every year. And that would have had the same result. And they did apologize for delaying it that long, but that's something we ought to consider, is incremental increases where they're appropriate rather than trying to wait for one big one. I do understand the pressure there. Logan City, for those of us that serve on that side, they're considering a 23% increase. Their Truth and Taxation meeting was tonight.
School district or the
No,
city?
Logan City.
The city, and that would essentially replace what we've eliminated from the fire, their portion of the fire district, so.
It's almost
Interesting.
exactly $1.3 million,
Interesting how
yeah.
they-
But I wish I didn't have to talk about this, but this is kind of a serious subject, but I don't know if you saw, but a man who also commented our Truth and Taxation last year, he threatened to kill everyone on the council, and he was arrested for terrorism. What's troubling about this is
It was the council? I thought it was just our officers, not the council.
the
School board, it was a school board.
the school board
The school board.
for the 37% increase. But what was troubling to me is I know the advice is never read the comments, but I read the comments and I just want to share some of them.
So you did the bad advice and now you're gonna share it with us.
Well,
Thanks, Keegan.
Okay.
I think it's important to know.
I read them
um,
too.
I think it's also important not to throw fuel on a fire, so I don't know if I'd stir a whole bunch of things up.
I think
and
we're
so-
all aware.
Okay.
Yeah,
I did read the comments.
I read the comments too, but I wouldn't bring them out in public because I just don't think that's appropriate here to throw fuel on a fire. So.
Okay. Well, let me just state my intention was not to do that, but
To raise awareness.
I'll just say that we're one of the top 5 lowest counties in the state for taxes. We're one of the top 3 states in the nation for the lowest taxes. Many of us voted to forego a raise last year. Some people have had their taxes lowered in the last 3 years, and I've never heard a thank you for that. So I think suffice it to say we're trying, and if you look around, there's a lot of pressure from other entities to raise taxes, and we're doing our best to keep those reasonable. So that's something I'm going to take into consideration when it comes time to vote on those things.
Okay. Any other one?
Nope.
Thanks, Keegan. Nolan?
I think everything that I wanted to touch on with the fire is been addressed with the executives, his review earlier, so I think that's it.
Okay, Dave?
Nothing.
We have OMP coming up on Friday, and I'm assuming, Sandy, you want to talk a little bit about the Fair Board meeting? Maybe not.
No, you go ahead.
There was a Fair Board meeting last week, and most of it was review of, are we ready to go? The executive brought up some great points. If you want his summary, that would be, I directed to talk to the executive, but he ran the meeting well. And I just want to say thank you to those present who pulled off the things at the fair. I know that the executive recognized the roads crew, but the sheriff also had a big hand in his department in making that event go well. And I know Logan PD, and I'm sure our county fire, obviously emergency response was heavily engaged. And it's a huge celebration, to steal the words that Dave usually uses, to accurately represent the situation. I think the fair was an amazing thing. And there was one major injury, but the young man, I think, will live a productive life, but he might not get back on a horse again, unfortunately. But it was a good event.
I'm grateful that we were all able to be together that night, on Friday night at the fair. I think that was nice. I saw some people that I knew waving at me. I heard someone make a comment that they heard people saying, who are these people? So I guess we're not as famous as we think we are, but I think we tried. So did you want to say something, George?
Yeah, I missed one thing that I thought I probably should have brought up with you, if you'll indulge me. Our DMV contract has an 18-month termination clause. And so if we want to terminate their use of our facility, I have to give them 18 months notice. I've gone through this with Dane, and I have authority to do that. But I'm advising you of that to see if any of you object to my giving them that notice forthwith.
Nope. No.
Yeah. Nope. Let me just say this, and this is somewhat responsive to Keegan's concern. We're looking at how to harden the administrative building, and moving DMV out or to a different location would allow to significantly reduce the traffic in the building that we don't have any control over. So we may not only look forward to them being out of the building, we're looking at reorganizing the building where different functions are and how one enters the building, because we have had threats with respect to life safety in the building. So we're trying to address that.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody have any objection or want to talk about this DMV termination letter?
So where they are to go has been talked about, though. I believe that's underway.
Yes.
I think that's important to know.
Yeah.
So
I just wanted
we're not
to-
just saying goodbye.
Yeah.
There is a plan.
It won't be a surprise to them because they're looking.
No, I just wanted to finish my report by saying that I was able to go Saturday morning to the fair for the junior livestock sale. And it was the first time I had been to that, and I was so thrilled. It was really an amazing thing to see the community come together and support those kids and bid on their animals and help them to get the money that they need. And there was a Century Award that we gave out to a farm. It was Hanson's that had been there for 100 years. And I just think it was a really good way, and a cap to the celebration that the fair is. And the biggest part is our ag culture. And so I thought that was good. I've been in a couple of meetings with the health department lately, the Board of Health. And just so I know that we all are aware that we signed an interlocal where the substance abuse now is connected to Bear River Behavioral Health. There was a lot of changes, and they decided to go with capitation instead of a fee for service. The bottom line is there will probably be a higher amount expected from us to match the Medicaid match, because there are going to be more Medicaid dollars coming. And we met today to talk about, Bear River Behavioral Health, making sure that they are offering more services with some of that increase in revenue. So as we go through the budget, and I know you're right in the middle of that, hopefully you've been talking to Jordan and we can get those numbers. And I know, Matt, that you had talked about getting that with them. And
I sent him an email.
Okay. Yeah, hopefully we can get those numbers as soon as possible, because it's going to make a difference to our budget.
We may be able to give you some budget material before our next meeting, but we don't have a tentative budget, but we have a preliminary budget at this point.
Okay, yeah. And the sooner the better. If we have papers in front of us that we can actually look at, it's going to make a big difference to the process that we have to go through pretty quickly here. So that's the last thing I had. Does anyone have anything else they want to say before we go home? take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, we adjourn.
And do this and invite you to come to the Heroes Tribute. End of August.
Okay.
Your input and assistance, unfortunately, I think there's a little bit to be learned.
Friday the 28th.
Not just the
There's
one
things going on
sentence
Friday,
summation
Saturday,
of the
and
whole paragraph that could be used.
I am so sorry.
I understand.
Support the
I
Rocky
understand.
Mountain
That's one of the reasons government moves so slowly. I'm used to it.
Oh, did I miss Dave?
Well, yes, the reason, and part of the thing that we were talking about was this whole emergency concept. And that you create your own emergency, and that doesn't all of a sudden mean that you get special, accommodations because of the one that we had in my discussions back and forth with Alma, which I had several. One of his big concerns was what he thinks got us was the software. Was because all of the
Dave Erickson,
information
Emily.
for that was in there. It was there. It was a week early.
I think we've waived. Yeah, but no good for you.
Why it didn't submit and the other one did. And so he was saying, I have asked for some software upgrades. And haven't gotten it. That was one of the things I was here for, to say, give Alma some software that works. I mean, there is submittal software that is easy to use and provides feedback on a regular basis.
You have to know there's a bigger story.
Oh, yeah.
Than this
Sure.
about our IT departments which is driving us all.
Yeah, and Alma kind of expressed some of that. And that's why I was kind of hoping, well, if I come as a user and say, give Alma some support here, people, that maybe it would have helped, but maybe
The
not.
truth is the whole system throughout the county is all fit. Our IT people are getting.
So they're saying if you change one thing, you got to change it all.
Yeah, and what's actually going on is everybody who actually has to do work with things has their full copy of Excel and Microsoft, uses it and then converts it to sheets.
Yeah.
But this portal that being open, since the advisory committee meeting anyway, I don't see why you don't try and meet those criteria and submit it.
And that was the thing, we don't know what the criteria is.
I
So
don't
that's
know
what
either.
Alma says, well, why don't you come to this meeting? He was the one that suggested I come to a meeting, have the discussion with the council, and they'll give you the feedback you need.
So what I'm gonna do is open, Alma gave me a description of what happened.
Okay.
Somehow I got in the middle of the lyric, reading these seats.
Yes.
And so I've been trying to be honest with the lyric about the problem because they're not in the timely sequence. They have a season and they're trying to put the seats in between the seasons.
I understand.
So
Which doesn't mean that they couldn't have submitted for the request on time. I mean, the work that we were doing is months away, but we still submitted it when we were supposed to.
They're doing the remodeling, and they really didn't focus on the problem with the seats until they got the remodeling done, and people tried to sit.
And so they created their emergency.
Well, however you want to say it, what I would suggest is I'll get the criteria, because I'll be